tea break. So we would have 15 minutes tea break starting now, and we resume back at 12:05. So see you all at 12:05 and enjoy your tea. Unfortunately, we can't serve you this time.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, welcome back. Hand over the floor after the tea break to Mr. Zubin Kabraji to make further announcements. Thank you.
Thank you, Samita. First session went almost like clockwork. We are right on time, and I'd like to thank Anurag Luthra for keeping things under control, as well as the speaker and presenter for adhering to the time schedule. We're moving into the second session, and the second session will be chaired by Mr. Tej Bamra of Rockman. Mr. Bamra is a committee member from our Delhi center and a fairly experienced person in the field of aluminum die casting. Take it away, Tej. The floor is all yours.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Zubin, for the introduction, and good morning, everyone. My name is Tej Bamra. I'll be chairing the session for the next two papers until lunch today. And I have the privilege of, introducing the next technical paper, which is titled Changing Customer Requirement Through Triggering of Technological Transitions, presented by Mr. J.M. Rathore, Senior General Manager and Head Engineering for the Godrej Tooling Division. The paper will provide details of changing needs of customers over the years and possible answers to it through available technologies when applied without questioning it. As regards to Mr. Rathore, he's a very eminent name in the industry for the toolings. He's Senior General Manager and Head of Die Casting Engineering for the Godrej Tooling Divisions in Vikhroli, Mumbai. He has 31 years of experience in design and development of dies for four-wheeler vehicles and for two-wheeler parts. He has dealt with dies and molds industries at Japan and has immense exposure to various tool rooms in Japan, Korea, Taiwan, Germany, USA, and France. He has contributed technical papers at NADCA, Alucast, GDC Tech, ILZDA, AAI, and IFC. So with this, I would hand it over to Mr. Rathore to take on and present his paper. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is I'm putting up my presentation now. Please inform me when the slides are visible.
That's visible.
Yeah, it's visible. Mr. Rathore, you can switch to full screen and you can...
yeah, sure. I'm doing that, sir.
Open your video. Yeah.
Yeah, so once again, good afternoon, respected committee members of Alucast, session chairman, Mr. Bamra, my fellow paper readers, ladies and gentlemen. It is my proud privilege to be in your august company in a virtual mode and sharing my views and experience in this coveted forum of Alucast. I would like to express my gratitude to the managing committee of Alucast for providing me an opportunity to do so. I will start with a brief introduction about my organization in a very short term. Though Godrej is a well-known brand in the country and it is regarded as corporate citizen of India, it's a multi-product, you all know, and multi-industry sector leader, and with a very diversified portfolio serving B2C and B2B segment. Godrej Tooling is a part of this large business conglomerate. Coming to Godrej Tooling, our mission is to build customers' competitiveness by providing state-of-the-art tooling solutions. We offer complete solutions to our esteemed customers, auto and non-auto sectors, by developing casting dies, press tools, and industrial machines for them. We also have state die casting trial machine facility, which is replicating production setup and equipped with VDS vacuum unit, jet cooling, and squeeze facility to test and prove our dies before shipment to foundry. And we are supplying production ready dies to our customer. Also, we are sharing our learnings through engineering services adjacency to enhance capability and technical know-how of fellow organizations. And also we provide pre-engineering services to mature product designs by R&D centers of OEM before release for tool development. We also provide tool management services to impart art and science of die maintenance. Coming to today's topic, changing customers' requirement and triggering technological transitions. So I have divided into two parts. First, let us understand the changing customer requirements. Our customer, in line with our mission of building customers' competitiveness, we have to look at bigger objective that our customers have to pursue and align to their needs. Our customers are pursuing environmental degradation issue and global warming, conserve earth materials, clean air, safe products and operations. In die casting, we are mainly aligned to auto sector, and hence today's discussion will be based on challenges faced by them and how we can help them to achieve the set objectives. There are 5 ways, namely zero emissions, better fuel economy, weight reduction, resource saving, and minimal effect on environment. So let us first get to know about what is causing the changes in the automobile industry. The effect on environment due to CO2 emissions, it started quite long back, and if we track it, that since 1900, for a whole century, actually there is a carbon emissions, and if we look at these figures, then 1 teragram is equal to 1 trillion grams of carbon dioxide which has been released in the air, and in a 1 century actually it has increased to 13 times, and this has caused enormous impact on planet Earth and the living creatures here. The effect of environment due to CO2 emissions and extraction of fossil fuels in the last century, it has actually damaged irreversibly to the environment. And in order to control the damage further, accelerated stringent norms are being forced. And we can see that how BS4 to BS6 norm came into force within 2 years with a bigger improvement objectives. We can see the improvements in the range of say 25% to 68% and 82%. These were the drastic targets were set, and industry, I'm happy to say that industry has responded well, and then we achieved it also. But this is not sufficient, because side by side, actually fuel economy also should go up. And we can see here in 2016, the passenger cars, these are USA figures. So 37.8 miles per gallon. Now it is slated to in 2025, 54.5 miles per gallon. So, and similarly, more stringent for light trucks. So 45 to 90% of improvement is needed with respect to fuel economy also. So if we look at how the vehicles are built, these are the body structure parts where strength requirement of each load bearing component is depicted here with the color code, and high to ultra high. There are no low strength requirement parts where cars are built. These are high and ultra high parts. And if we go further drill down, then we can see the type of material which has been used to make this type of body structural parts. So ultra high strength hot forming steel, high tensile steel, reinforced steel, and we can see very few of aluminum profile which has been shown here. So this was the case around say 3-4 years back, and aluminum alloy contribution of aluminum alloy is in the range of only 9%. And this 9%, what was available to we in aluminum die casting to contribute to automakers. So if we go slightly to the next step, that is about weight reduction, and we can see that how each auto OEMs have responded to the requirement of weight reduction. It the initial saving of 50 to 100 kgs per vehicle. Now it has been targeted to 200 to 325 kg. So improvement in the range of say 172% to 580%. These are the very aggressive weight reduction programs are being pursued by auto OEMs, and these type of if we look at in our country what is happening, I tried to track down like for Honda, TVS, Hero. So what was the difference between old models and BS6 models? So we can see that weight reduction in the range of 1 to 10% has been done by all the two-wheeler OEMs, and more aggressively by Suzuki. The 10 kg of extra flap has been removed, and that has come through making the engines lighter by 6 kg. It's a huge tall order to reduce the engine weight by 6 kg. So based on this, what we can see is these actually forms the challenges to die casting industry. I drill down to further more how this engine weight can be reduced. So when we look at the average wall thickness of transmission component of two-wheeler, it was 2.8 plus minus 0.2. That was the tolerance given in 2013. Now it has come down to 2.5. So around 10% reduction in section thickness. So you can imagine what will be the total weight reduction with respect to this. And earlier, the porosity acceptance criteria was not so stringent, and it was never part of contract. But currently, all the auto OEMs, they wanted leakage testing to be done, and specifications have been put on paper, and those are the order condition. These are the figures of another two-wheeler maker, and here also we can see the similar story. Around 10% reduction has been planned, and a very strict norm of zero porosity in the CTQ areas. So that has been enforced. Now, if you look at four-wheeler transmission castings also, very detailed porosity guidelines have been given, and with again reduction in wall thickness at many of the areas. So what it entitles to, because as the section thickness reduces, it is difficult to have a good flow inside the die, and also it poses a lot of challenges to us with respect to achieving this type of part quality. So if we look at this, we have discussed that most of the vehicles were built on steel structure, and what is going to be coming in future. if we look at here, it shows mainly aluminum derivatives or aluminum type of components, which will contribute to around 58%. And these are the more radical steps which has been decided by auto OEMs to achieve the type of weight reduction what they have planned. It sounds as sweet music to we all in die casting, but it comes with a lot of riders and a lot of challenges. So next target by OEMs is zero emissions. Zero emission, whenever any IC engine is there, some amount of emission will be there. We all know. But when the target is about zero emission, then I had gone through the detailed study that we are contributing mainly to parts of IC engines in aluminum die casting. And you might have seen in today's Times of India a big single page advertisement by Ether 450 plus. So that that is giving us an idea that what is going to come in future. Now this is a study done by Bloomberg that IC engine is going to be history because the contribution of IC engines will be very low in near future, and it will be quite subdued also, and it may become obsolete, and it will be replaced by electric vehicles. So I thought let us look at what is happening for EV sales. So globally, if we can look at it, the silver lining of for EV is in this pandemic also, when the world has turned upside down, EV sales have defied the gravity and pose a strong growth path here, even though it's on lower volume, but people are showing more and more interest in this pandemic situation. So I try to capture like what is happening in India. In India, the EV market is totally different because 90% of Indians are traveling on two-wheeler, three-wheeler and buses. And these are the larger sector where government will be imposing stricter norms and encouraging industries to develop more and more EV products here. Being from auto or die casting industry, we can see that there are two green boxes that gives us an opportunity for these type of products in EV also. And red boxes shows that all the capability what we had, now that will no longer be useful for transmission and engine components in future. So EV will grow in India, especially by 15%. And also we see that e-rickshaw will have a strong business case, and car and buses will have more time to wait because until the single charge kilometers are enhanced. And we are seeing that there is an upsurge in electrical two-wheeler market. Ether, as I mentioned about today, then Bajaj, Chetak, we all know, TVS, SEG Automotive, and Ola Electric Mobility. So if I look at like what type of parts will be needed, especially with respect to aluminum casting. So those are currently battery boxes for two-wheeler were being developed in the country. And some portion of structural parts for two-wheeler are being developed, but in a major way, we will be seeing this demand for these type of parts in by 2023 to 26. And in the meantime, we will be also enhancing our capability to serve to battery boxes for four-wheeler, such a large type of castings and electric motor casing with cooling arrangement inside. So that makes castings quite complex to achieve. And if we think that it may get advanced more than expected. So these are the time period which has been derived around 2 years back, but we are seeing that the way market is moving, we may require to tighten our belt and capability quite faster than expected. So these are the bigger objectives, as I mentioned, and how industry is responding to it is with lightweighting products, alternate material, net zero energy rating, and efficient operations in Industry 4.0. So we have to see what it entitles us and how we can trigger these technological transitions in our favor. So now coming to the second part, that is the triggering technological transitions. During past Alucast conferences, I talked about greener practices and smarter industry solutions. And today I will focus my presentation on offering futuristic technology, and that is for developing solutions for structural castings. So structural castings process chain is shown here. It is having some more steps added, which has been marked with red boxes. Alloy preparation becomes a very critical phase here in structural casting. Then treatment like degassing, concealed molten metal metering system, vacuum systems. These are the newly additions. And in post casting, then trimming, thermal treatment is, of course, everyone is aware about. And straightening, if the part is thinner and longer and having varied section, then there will be a lot of warpage. So we will have to correct that also. So as a process, that step may be required. The structural casting alloys are actually characterized by higher elongation ratios. Currently, it is elongation ratio is 0.5 to 1.5. You can see here, but with crash relevant and strength relevant, it should be more than 10% and 7%. So we should understand what are the specific characteristics of structural alloys. Structural casting has to be thin wall casting, and it has got quite a larger area, and it will have complex ribbing structure as it is shown here, and it should bear static and dynamic load requirement. In order to impart better mechanical strength, the alloy should be heat rateable. So that is going to be a necessary condition. And weldability and riveting, those properties will be an additional advantage. But when we look at weldability, then it requires a porosity-free casting, because even pinhole porosity also will not be allowed here. And the lower Fe content, it will be tough to handle during filling and ejection stages, as it is mentioned here that it will entitle to die soldering, and there the whole thing will start creating problems for us, because a lot of warpage we can see, or casting may not be able to come out of the dies quite smoothly and easily. Just want to share that in Godrej Tooling, we have developed structural dies for structural casting part for two-wheeler. So this is again a load bearing, and the grade of aluminum is quite different than what we use that ADC 12. So how these challenges can be met? If you look at what are the technologies available with us, so that we are able to meet the these are the specific requirements of structural castings. So first, it starts with vacuum die casting technology. The vacuum die casting technology, why it is to be employed? Because we wanted to have zero rejections, and we should address all the quality parameters of complex castings, and the porosity-free castings during trial and production run. So we will just a small video. So just to depict how the vacuum technology works. So in the first phase, that is a metal pouring. It start off slow short. When the short sleeve is completely sealed, then vacuum valve will get opened and suck away all the air which is there inside the cavity. That evacuation is happening at the other end through chill vent in this case. Then closing of vacuum wall, and then start of the second and third phase, and that is the faster phase. So this is the way actually vacuum technology works. And I would like to share a very interesting case study for the component and the die which has been developed by us. Originally, it was a LPDC part with very heavy and thick sections, owing to constraint of LPDC as a process and also the product requirement with respect to load criteria. We have converted that into HPDC with a 20% lesser weight and performing the same function and meeting all the quality and strength criteria. But because of varied section and the type of alloy used, it was quite challenging to fill the casting and achieve the level of porosity been indicated by customer. So I will just take you through like what we did during the development phase. So filling temperature, if we don't consider vacuum when having a simulation study, so turbulence was seen, and if we apply vacuum, then casting filling was smooth with the vacuum option. The second criteria was about air pressure. So we could see a lot of gas porosity in the casting, whereas with vacuum, air pressure is within the acceptable limit at CTQ areas. Air entrapment also very high without vacuum, and with vacuum, it was within the acceptable limit. And these are the actual casting figures. When we took the trial, initially we started with without vacuum just to see what effect vacuum will have on the casting. So aesthetically, we can see non-filling and it can be solved. Then again, another area where non-filling has occurred and it can be eliminated. So these are some of the examples. And then we took the cut section where we could see gas porosity as seen in the simulation study. And with the vacuum system, the porosity has been completely avoided in this area. But only one plane section is not sufficient. So we had gone for X-ray study. And there also we have seen a marked improvement. We can see that level 3 porosity can be converted to level 1, which was quite acceptable to our customer. So we could see in many areas, those were CTQs, and we were able to achieve level 1 porosity. Yeah. So advantages with vacuum system is that level 3 to level 1, as I mentioned, and especially in all machining phases, there is no porosity has been seen, and leak testing is also conducted, and there was no leakage observed, and total number of rejection during mass production is definitely going to go down to the level which will be acceptable to foundry and to our customer ultimately. Another technology which I think many of us are aware, but I just wanted to mention as a pass here, that is the jet cooling technology. So in Godrej tooling trial setup, we have VDS vacuum system, as I mentioned, and then jet cooling also, so that thinner hole can be easily provided in the casting along with cooling. So we can see many examples like top right, where section was left as it is because very thin hole was required. So initially we were skeptical because that thin core pin, the temperature will be heated so much that it will be giving us an adverse effect. But when with jet cooling, we were able to create that hole also, and also the area or section which is close to that without any porosity. So these are the areas which I wanted to indicate, like by using jet cooling, we are able to achieve the porosity, reduce the porosity levels. This is especially for four-wheeler area. And if we look at minimizing the environmentally harmful substances and having a lower impact, we know that there are advantages of aluminum and disadvantages of aluminum. But industry has not stopped here. And in fact, it went on developing newer and newer materials. So besides the structural casting, there is a material called aluminum matrix composites. So these are actually reinforcement of AMCs with, say, fibers. And with the help of fibers, we are able to achieve these type of structures, which will be in fact giving us a quite rigid section at a lower weight. So those are the advantages, like it will have greater strength and reduced density, improved temperature properties, and also thermal and heat management will be enhanced. So there are 4 types of AMCs: particle reinforced AMCs, that then whisker or short fiber reinforced, then monofilament, and continuous fiber. So many of these are under laboratory stage, but some of them have been picked up by industry and started using for aerospace, military, and even for automobile application. We can see that as compared to cast iron, 50 to 60% weight reduction is possible with in brake disc type of component, which has been used by Knorr-Bremse. And also, if you look at some other example, Colburn Smith and Toyota, and they have been started using this type of AMCs and gaining the benefits. Now, in our country, how fast this technology would arrive, because I am sure all this technology transfer is going to happen very fast. Volkswagen, Toyota, and Knorr-Bremse, all of them are involved in this. So we have to be careful and we have to be watchful, like what is going to come in future for us. And also with the help of natural fiber composites, many components which are traditionally made by aluminum are being now converted by using natural fiber composites. We can see the name of component: engine cover, oil pan, cam cover, battery tray. So these are the components where we are using aluminum currently. And these are the photographs of the natural fiber component which has been already been made. So engine cover is made, cam cover is made, and oil pan has also been made by using natural fibers. And these are the challenges which as an industry we will be facing. So I'm just wanted to conclude about my presentation is the challenges for the aluminum industry is alternate material and processes. They keep challenging for lightweighting and weight to strength ratio to us. And many times that type of newer technology becomes a winner and a very strong contender for that. Our customers, especially for structural castings, expect us to raise our level and meet their tougher standards without committing any business. So first they want us to invest and come to that level, and then this will be awarded. Now our approach should be that meeting higher quality standards by customer. We don't have any other option, and we have to invest in new trends and technology like vacuum system, jet cooling, especially thermoregulation, so that we are in a better position to handle very challenging material properties, and also able to give the components or supply the components to our customer within the accepted quality parameters. We have to upgrade our skills and knowledge also in exploiting this new technology. Another aspect which I have not talked about is automating our processes and removing the non-value added manual activities like trimming tools for fettling. So many of die casters have started using trimming tools, but it has to be adopted by all. Looking at current condition where labor rules are quite strong in the country, are becoming stronger. So minimum wage packet is going to go up. So because of that, cheap labor will not be available. And also because of social distancing, we cannot have more and more people in our shop floor. So that way we have to use more of automation. And also applying Industry 4.0 in operation to make our operations efficient and safer. So this was all about me, and thank you for your attention, and would be happy to address your queries. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Rathore, for an in-depth deep dive into the challenges which are forthcoming in the automotive industry and how we are going to overcome them. In both these segments, you have touched upon the details of how we are going to accept this. Although it's a good challenge to have, it's a good problem to have for the technology advancement in the country. But yes, the challenges stand there. You've spoken about the raw material, you've spoken about the process, spoken about the dyes, and you've also spoken about the treatment. So we are already, as die casters, we see on various platforms the latest breakthrough that has been made by, Tesla Motors on the Y7 model, where they have cast the complete chassis frame with the strut column and the shock tower in one piece on the 5,500 ton machine. It's a beauty to see that. But how well that will be accepted and how we are able to now further take it on is the challenge. So thank you very much once again, and we are open to questions. So we have a couple of questions which have come in. The first one is from, just a moment, Sandeep Kumar. I mean, he says that normally filling issues are related to the function of the temperature. How can air pressure create a non-fill?
Air pressure creates resistance to fill, and that we should be taking care. So if we have got vacuum system is not going to assist in faster filling, but at least whatever resistance is there because of back pressure or air, that can be removed so that you get a better filling.
Okay, yeah. So he's asking, can you please tell us the acceptable range of air pressure in the simulation as per your experience?
I would say it goes in the range of normal casting around 2 bar, and if it is less than 1 bar, it is more desirable.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then the other question is from Mr. Rohit Sadafal. He's asking, what are the challenges that would be posed by carbon reinforced fiber plastics to aluminum die casting industry?
Yeah, in fact, I am also quite keen, and I am also to study more and more about carbon fibers and what are its advantages and disadvantages. But still, nothing has been concretely decided about it, and it depends on OEM and product designer what type of strength they are looking for that particular component, and it ultimately becomes their choice only with respect to weight ratio, what it offers, strength to weight ratio, and also per piece cost. So as a technology, it is emerging, but still not widely accepted by auto OEMs.
Yeah, I would also like to add on here, just for the information's sake, that we at Rockman have got a unit in Gujarat where we are making composite fibers by the name of Moldex, and we are already supplying to the aerospace and the automotive industry. Okay, there's one more question which is asking Mr. from Rockman Bawal, that's my plant. How can we reduce the density by using the AMC? He's talking about the aluminum matrix composite. Please explain. As per understanding, weight can be reduced, not density.
Yeah, because when we are using standard, chopped standard or glass fibers and natural fibers, so it is going to occupy some space, so that aluminum and those type of fibers will be merged together, and the density is going to get reduced because of this, because it is by volume. So if you look at weight, volume, and density equation, so you will get that the density definitely get reduced because of this.
Yeah. So there is a question from Mr. Shripad Kate, my colleague from Rockman. Yeah. He's asking, in this challenging world, we are left with no choice than to adopt changes. Thin-walled castings and reduced weight requirements are increasing. How Godrej is targeting to help us in terms of dies?
I'm sorry.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Tej, I think he's had a power disconnect.
Yeah, he's got a
So
network problem.
let's move on to the next one.
All right, okay. So the next technical paper is on how to reduce scrap in aluminum foundries using X-ray technology. This is presented by Mr. Hemant Kumar, Head of Sales, Carl Zeiss India, Bangalore. Mr. Hemant Kumar will speak about the X-ray machines that were intensively used in foundries for quality check, mostly in casting defects. However, most of the X-ray machines were installed in quality control rooms and only random samples were checked to ascertain the quality of the part. This concept is changing globally, and X-ray machines were used in shop floor, and it's placed right in between the casting machines and metal cutting machines for 100% inspection of castings. By doing so, industries have realized that the scrap rate has come down drastically, and also the casting quality were ensured for the complete production process. There are many OEMs who have adopted this technology and gained immensely from its use, especially in aluminum casting world. The goal is to talk about the technology, to share some of the advantages which few industries have realized. Now, the speaker, Mr. Hemant Kumar, is head of sales of Carl Zeiss India and has 22 years of experience in industrial metrology. He's a bachelor's in mechanical engineering from Bharatiyar University, and he joined Zeiss in 2006 and has worked at various positions in sales, product development at global offices of Zeiss and as product sales manager for X-rays. He's worked closely with many OEMs and their suppliers to provide measurement solutions for application changes. So over to you, Mr. Hemant Kumar. Thank you very much. You have 40 minutes, out of which we'll have a 5-minute to 10-minute question and answers.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
you're audible.
very much so.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bhamra, for a detailed introduction. Thanks, Alucast team, and Kabraji and Mr. Rushikesh for giving us this opportunity. So since the introduction is already done, I will just straight away jump into the topic of how to reduce scrap in aluminum foundries using X-ray technology. I'll share my screen now. Yeah, you can let me know the moment you see my screen.
Yes.
We can see your screen.
All good. You can move to full screen.
Yeah, okay.
Excellent.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. So I'll just move on to the subject. I think this is very well covered. This is basic information before we start off the webinar, and I have been observing this going on for last 2-3 sessions, and all of them are quite calm and listening to what the presenters are speaking. So thank you so much. So we'll just on the agenda. This is how the overall agenda will be like. Can I minimize the screen? Yeah. Okay. So this is the overall agenda. We'll just touch upon the casting industry overview and what are the hidden secrets of the castings, and how we are trying to find out the secrets of the casting, what kind of predictions we make to save the money, and how to detect these defects automatically in line, and how to save money. That is one of the key topics of my discussion over here. And finally, overall summary followed by the question and answer session. So after this presentation, I think the overall information which the audience will receive is how to identify the defects early in the casting process, and how safely you can increase the quality of your part, and also to reduce the scrap, as well as you can reduce the cost of the complete manufacturing process. So this, I think overall, everybody is aware. There are different casting process depending on what is the part and different complications of the part, profiles of the part. There are different manufacturing process, right? From sand casting, gravity casting, pressure die casting, low and high, then lost form process, investment casting process. And further it goes to the post casting process like the machining, and also next it moves on to the assembly phase. So in the whole value chain where these X-rays are going to be used, so we'll come to that topic. And these are different parts which gets manufactured through different manufacturing process. So some of the parts will be produced to sand castings and gravity die casting. Then wheels, of course, on low pressure die casting, and high pressure die casting on for steering column and things like that. So each different process are set for each different application, and they have their own challenges, in terms of pores, then shrinkages and all that. So each production process has got different kind of defects, and these has to be identified in advance. So how we identify these secrets? So if you look at the casting process, these are the familiar terms which you will normally come across. Like you'll have the cavities, you'll have the pores, you'll have warpage, cracks, residuals. So each has got its own implications on the product. Some of them seems to be less critical, and some of the parameters to be more critical. So it all it depends on what kind of part and what kind of process you're following, and what is probably possible for customers to allow these defects in the part, because producing 100% defect-free parts is out of question. So which one we can allow and which are not. So that those decisions we can take in the early stage of the manufacturing process. So if you look at the problems in casting, is some of them are internal and some of them are external. So these are examples which I'm trying to show you. These porosities. These are the perennial problem in casting industries. Shrinkage holes, then spongy areas, then cold shots. These are the defects which mostly happens inside the component. And incomplete filling, I think the last session was more on this aspect, how to reduce this, then blisters, then inclusions, and the cracks. So these are the defects which you normally come across in the casting world. And some of them are external, like if there are some flashes or sink marks, or there can be a sand entrapment and broken core. So, and sometimes the chips. So these are the issues wherein the size of these particles sometimes can be somewhere between 500 micron to 1.5 millimeter, and it can create a lot of problem when the part goes to the final assembly. So these are the issues which the industries are facing. And the topic, X-ray topic now, basically it also addresses to certain measurement functions. So not only on the defects, with X-ray technology, we can also find out what are the geometrical deviations, and if there are any movement in the sand core, and if there are any shift. So those drift can also be identified by using this X-ray technology. So these are the different problems, issues, and how we can address them by using X-ray is what we'll see in the next slides. So now the present methodology is basically you use a boroscope to see the internal defects, and it's a manual process. It takes a lot of time. Or what you do is you cut the part, cut the sample, place it under the microscope and see those defects. Or you also use a X-ray machine, 2D X-ray machine, and identify these defects. This is what is currently widely used in industry. And on the last picture, what you see here is a Metrotome. This is an X-ray machine. Yeah, this is our Metrotome machine. This is a lab machine wherein you get complete 3D information of the part. So you on the left side here, you see a 3D virtual image of the part. Means once the part is X-rayed, what we have generated is a 3D data. How we do it? Because we collect series of 2D image, stitch it together, and then at the end you get a reconstruction image. So the reconstruction image is a virtual image close to the real part, which means the part which inside the whatever defects are there inside, it can be made visible. So this is how an X-ray image, a 3D X-ray image will look like. And we have, when we collect this information, collected on a very high precision mechanics, so that we say that the resemblance of this image is very close to the original image to an order of microns. So that is where the 3D metrology X-ray comes into play. So it creates an image close to the real image. And the disadvantage in 2D images, for example, in 2D image, you will always have to make a judgment based on single plane. Because if you have a source and a detector, you take one single shot, means you take one image, which is projected onto the screen. And based on this, you'll have to make a judgment. So if it depends on which orientation I am taking the image. If the image is perpendicular to this, then you see a very small defect. Whereas if I take an image on in this plane, then there is a huge defect. So making a judgment based on 2D image sometimes may create a problem. But when you go with a 3D image, you get the complete visualization of the defect, and you will be able to take decision much better compared to the 2D visualization. So why it is important? Because in the production process, right from the casting, once the part is casted, it goes to various phases of production step. And each, for example, a cylinder block can go up to 20 different operations. And what happens at the end of 10th or 15th operation, if you try to find out there is a defect, already you have invested a lot of money on that part. The whole part becomes useless. What X-ray technology can help you is you introduce this X-ray machine right before the production step, immediately after the casting and right before the production. Then what you do is you save immense cost, which or otherwise you have to spend a lot of money in terms of producing the part, and at the end you get to know that this part is useless. So what we do is normally how the defects are identified. What we do is for example, this is the CAD image of the part, and then there's a raw scanned image. We do a superimpose of the raw data with the scan data. And we do a 3-to-1 alignment method, just like how it is done in a production cycle. And then we see these defects. For example, we can make a judgment based on the position of these defects. So this is my machining profile. So this defect is well within the machining profile. It means after the machining is done, the defect is still within the part, which means it will not create any kind of imbalance to the part. So I can still allow this part to go for the next phase, because I know very sure that even after the machining is done, this defect is not going to show up. So I can still use this part. Whereas here I can make a judgment after the machining is done, the defect is going to be shown up on the surface, and this definitely is not going to be used in the next phase. So I can as well reject this part. So this kind of judgment can be taken when you use an X-ray technology. So in Zeiss, what we have is basically we have 4 corners. We have systems in place, then we have software, we have accessories and services. Depending on the application of the customer, we have suitable systems. We have a 2D system or 3D system or inline systems. We have different kinds of system available. And software for each and every application, we have different software. So we can pick and place the software depending on the customer requirement. We also have suitable accessories to hold the part onto the machine. And of course, Zeiss is present all India, and then service and application support is there throughout India. And when you come to the systems, we have Metrotome is a lab-based system wherein if you are interested in random sampling, then we can use a lab-based system. This is an X-ray system wherein it goes into research and development where the resolution gets into sub-micron level. It is mostly used in research labs. Today's topic will be mostly covering to Volumax, where these machines are installed in line, which means this machine can be placed directly onto the shop floor. The difference between lab and shop floor machine is lab, we have to maintain 20 plus minus 2 degree C like the CMMs or other metrology machines. And these machines are made for shop floor, and you can use it up to, these machines can withstand up to 40 degrees C shop floor environment. And apart from that, we also have 2D systems. Again, 2D, there are certain limitations, but we also offer 2D inline system for shop floor application. So today we will cover mostly Volumax 3D inline system and 2D inline system from Bosello product range. So what are the biggest challenge when it comes to scanning of this part? This is basically, the kind of data what you have to handle. When you talk of this 3D data, when I do one scan, we call each, because in CMM we call it a single point. Here in 3D we call it as voxel. Voxel is nothing but a 3D data, a small representation of each and every coordinates. And when you scan such a big part for a cylinder block or cylinder head, you end up having 5,000 billion voxels, the total voxel size which you get from each scan. And here, if we talk of inline, the cycle time requirements sometimes range between 45 seconds, 60 seconds to 1 or 2 minutes, depending on the requirement from customer. So if you have to take a decision in 60 seconds, and if you have to do an analysis of 4 billion voxels, it's a huge data. But we have developed certain software features, artificial intelligence in the built-in feature in the software, by which we will be able to accurately pinpoint the defect, size, as well as orientation and dimension. So the loading can be using a robot, or there can also be an conveyor kind of system. So for the shop floor, you can have different type of loading system. This is the machine, how it will look like. On the left side, you will have the X-ray source, 225 kV source. And on the right side, here, this is the detector. So the detector and source, everything is customized. Volumax is basically a customized machine depending on customer's requirement. So normally we ask for the requirement from customer. What are the important parameters to be checked, and what is their interest, what is allowable and what is not allowable, because defect-free part, as I mentioned, is not possible to manufacture. So we take all this information beforehand, then we do a thorough performance study of your part, and then we provide a suitable solution. So everything we do, we customize the requirement based on the need, and then we provide the total solution. So here we can do fast scan, because this is a new Volumax 9 Flash is a fast system. Earlier, the same cylinder block we used to do in 90 seconds. Now the same thing is we are doing at about less than 60 seconds. So the throughput of these machines have increased, because this machine was introduced about 6 or 7 years back in the market, wherein it started with 2-minute scan. Now we are already talking about less than a minute of scan and then the result. So this is a robust system wherein you see there is only a less movement of the part. Part is kept on a rotary table. You have a fixed source, fixed detector. So we have very low movement, which means the maintenance of this machine is not really very high, because when the machine run for 24/7, customers always should think of what would be the maintenance costs. So here the maintenance is very, very low because of less movement. Only rotary table is moving, rest all is fixed. It's completely flexible. Depending on customer needs, we can create the complete recipe for the machine, and you get complete insight. Let it be defect, or let it be metrology, or it can be chips or sand core defects. So defects within the part, or it's inside the metal. Everything can be identified. And service, I will not talk much on the service aspect. So as I said before, the cycle time got drastically reduced, and now we could get the same output in a 30% reduction in time. So where it is placed actually, so when you look at the casting process, after the casting is done, there is a cooling, then decoring, there is a pre-machining. It comes for CT inspection. Before it goes to the machining, it comes for CT inspection, so that we always ensure that only good part is supplied to the next level of process. The bad part, you can there will be a conveyor kind of thing, where you can have a good part and bad part. Once a part is identified as bad part, then it can be placed in the not okay bin, and the part can go on. So this is how the layout of the machine will look like. In the next slide, I will present a small video which gives you a total information about how the whole thing will work. So this is a normal case. After the pouring is done, what happens? Sorry. So now you introduce an X-ray machine inside the production. So that's how it is done. So you have seen, if you place a X-ray machine in the production floor, then what happens? You always ensure that the right part goes to the next production phase and not the defective part. So how do we do it? Because as I said, the data, the amount of data what we collect is enormous. So we introduce, Zeiss has done a lot of research on this, and then we have certain software, build this certain software features in our ZADD, that is Zeiss Automated Defect Detection Software. The goal of the software is normally when you deal with such high volume data, you always end up giving wrong information. So how to ensure every time you give right information to the machine so that the perfect part goes to the next phase. So it is not so complex. What we have done is we have just developed simple algorithms. We develop an algorithm where it works on reference basis. So if you scan a part and if you have got some defects, how it makes an analysis of that. So this is a part which is normally created by using a lot of good parts or allowed parts. And then you create a reference. Then if you do a superimpose, this is actually basically a child's play, which I think most of us are familiar with. When you superimpose and see what are the deviations, then the AI which is built inside the software will do the classification and segmentation accordingly. So how it is done, as I said, none of the parts are defect free, but we'll have to identify few parts which has got allowable defects, then create a golden part. Once the golden part is created, then after the data is scanned on a new part, you scan this part, then superimpose and subtract the image. Then the difference image gives you the defect. And after the defect is done, what we have to do is we have to do a classification. What kind of defect is this? And this is basically done from more than 60,000 data sets. This is how the AI has been created. And then it does a segmentation. And then you take a decision whether the system will take a decision whether it is okay or not okay. And the whole thing can be captured in a PyWeb. This is a statistical software. So on first step, we are trying to find out what kind of defect it is, whether it is an internal defect or external defect like sand core or chips, which is entrapped inside the casting. And then we identify what type of defect. Is it a residual or core breaks or sand or pores? So all this analysis is going on in the back end. When the scanning is done, this whole thing happens in about a minute. So after that is done, then it will also do the measurement. What is the size of the defect? And then it gives you a complete plot of different type of defect. And for every part, there is some tolerance scale. So we can fix this tolerance scale when we do the customization of the software. This is not only done during the manufacturing of this machine. This software is completely free, and this can be adjusted even after the machine is installed in your customer's facility. So all this tolerance band can be fixed, and we can say that on the same part, some may have close tolerance and some will have an open tolerance. So on the whole part, we can create segmentation, and then accordingly, we can say whether the part is acceptable or not. So the complete thing can be programmed in the software. And the other beauty of this software is the whole thing can be captured in PyWeb software. So you don't have to really keep noting what are the problems in each part. The whole thing can be captured in PyWeb, and this can be taken at any point of time for further analysis. So the benefit is you save a lot of time, you save money, and of course you always give a best part to the next production process. So that's about 3D. I also would like to briefly touch upon 2D machines, what we have. Like these machines also can be used at line or inline stations, wherein, for example, this is a standard machine wherein any kind of parts can be checked in this machine. It can be installed in a lab or in a controlled environment. This is an inline machine for wheel application, wherein wheel nowadays they ask for 100% inspection of the wheels. So already in India, we have supplied few systems. This machine will run 24/7 with automatic defect recognition software for 2D application. And depending on the customer requirement, we can program the complete machine. And here we talk of cycle time between 25 to 30 seconds per part, depending on how many images customer is required. So on an average, 18-inch wheel will take about 30 to 35 seconds. It will take for one wheel inspection. And then this is an Omnia system where it is for prismatic part. It can also be completely kept in the shop floor. And with ADR software, you can do complete defect analysis of this. This is basically only for defect analysis. The 3D machine, what I talked about, it can do defect, metrology, application, all that, because you are dealing with the 3D data. Here it is mostly 2D application, because you are taking decision based on just 2D image. So here the facility is you can place the part, it's a pallet, you can place the part outside, and then the part can roll in. There is already a scanning happening inside the machine. Once the part is ready, this will flip inside, and the part which is already measured, can come out. So that's how these are quite fast. As I mentioned, this is how the flip happens. And then this is how you load the part, and then you take picture in different orientation, and then the ADR software takes the decision whether it's a good part or the bad part. As I said, the wheel machine, the construction will be like this. You have 4 doors. One part is getting measured. So the part is standing just next to the door, so that when the part is finished, the loading time would be less than 2 seconds. So once the part is measured and then gone out, this part will go within 2 seconds, and then the next production measurement cycle would start. So just to give you an idea how fast these components are getting measured within the cycle time of 30 to 35 seconds. And the power source, it can go from 150 kV to 450 kV. So for example, aluminum, 160 to 225 we can accommodate, but 450 basically for high dense material, steel or iron casting, they normally go for 450 kV. Yeah, this is about ADR software. I touched upon our ZADD for 3D software. ADR is basically, here we deal with single image, and our ADR software will detect the size of these defects based on single image and takes the decision accordingly. So summary, I tried to cover both 3D and 2D application for X-ray technology, and what the advantage is. Basically, you can identify the defects before the production process. The machine can be integrated completely 100% inline. The machines can be used for 24/7, and it needs maximum 3 to 4 days of maintenance in the whole year. ZADD software, I explained the advantage of the 3D visualization, and how it can do the segmentation, and how the defects are measured and quantified at the end of the scanning process. It can have 100% inline inspection, and by doing this, you can definitely improve the casting process. The examples which I shared with you is already been running with few customers, and the feedback is they have taken ROI in less than 1 year, because they could reduce the scrap so much. That is one. And secondly, you always try to give a good part to the next production phase. And of all, you get the complete statistical overview of your production because of using the PyWeb software. Benefits, of course, saving money, reducing scrap, highest throughput, and best quality to your customer. And if you deliver best quality, the reliability factor goes up, and you can ensure good customer relation by delivering best quality. So with that, I come to the end of presentation, and I'm open for Q&A session.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Hemant, for, a very illustrious and in-depth, data analysis, and also the use of the X-ray machine online. I mean, this is something which could be a dream come true for every die caster to avoid rejections, especially on the heavier parts, such as the cylinder block you mentioned about. So a couple of obvious questions which have come in. The first one is from Mr. Shripad Kate from Rockman Haridwar. He's asking, trying to ask you how much is the cost of this machine, or what would be the payback in terms of investments? Would it be better to scrap the part, the rejected part, rather than installing an X-ray machine online and covering up the costs of the machine?
In fact, the very purpose of introducing this machine, what happens is how you are deciding whether this part is scrap or not. Because the earlier conventional method of deciding the part as scrap proved to be wrong by using this CT technology, because the parts which were considered to be scrap, when they have gone through this 3D scanning and superimposing of this machining profile, many customers have realized that the defect which they have seen is not hindering the production process at all, because after you superimpose the machining profile, the defect seems to be nowhere close to the surface. It is hiding inside, and after the production, after the machining phase also, this defect is not going to come up. But if you look the same part, if you look at it in 2D, it gives you a resemblance that no, the part is defective and you cannot use it anymore. So I can take name of one company, Mahle, for piston manufacturing. They have been using this 2D technology and also magnetic particle inspection, all that, and they were rejecting their parts. Almost their rejection was almost 8%. And after using the X-ray machine, they have identified that all the 8% of scrap which they were rejecting, in fact, almost 5% parts which was rejected can be used without undergoing any further process. This is what they could realize, and the other customer in the aluminum casting, cylinder block and cylinder head, they could get ROI in 8 months' time, because earlier this 2D, using 2D machine, they were taking wrong decision, and by using 3D, the same part which got rejected is now getting accepted because it is not at all hindering their next production phase. So these kind of crucial decision, Volume-X could help, and ROI seems to be somewhere between 8 months, 1 year. And we as I said, this technology started about 6 years, and we have already installed about 60 machines globally. And year on year, the numbers are increasing, which means all the customers are seeing the benefits, and then they are investing on these machines.
Yeah, for one remark from my side is, this could take us to a separate discussion altogether, whether we should be investing that kind of money into the process technology and improve our process rather than detecting them on the X-ray. I think this is also what Shripad meant in his question. Anyways, the other question is from Mr. Vashish Kumar. So Vashish wants to ask, can you provide an online X-ray system for running production of structural parts integrated with the die casting machine?
Structural parts is a little challenge because of the size and handling and all that. So structural parts is still, if the size is about 1 meter, then it's okay. Other than that, if the size goes up, then it is very difficult to handle them. So inline for structural parts is still a challenge, I would say.
All right. And the other question is, can we check the pore size and the percentage porosity by this equipment?
Yes, yes, very much. Software is capable of giving this information: pore size, diameter, largest diameter, volume, and also the XYZ position of the defect. That is very crucial. That information you will get.
And the final question is from Mr. Sanjeev Prabhakar, my colleague. Do you also provide service for checking the parts in case it is not affordable to install the machine? I mean, he's talking about a job work kind of a thing. Are you
Absolutely.
giving those kind of
That
services?
would be my last topic, because these machines now we have one, two, three machines in our tech center in Bangalore. We have one machine in Bangalore, one machine in Pune, and one we'll have it in Chennai also. So depending on the requirement, we can offer measurement services. We have big machine, we have small machine. So if you have any request for X-ray inspection, you can contact us, and we'll be able to provide you measurement services for your parts on our X-ray machine.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hemant. It was brilliant to have gone through the presentation and very insightful. Over to you, Samida. Thank you very much, Mr. Hemant. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you everybody. And it's time for lunch. A little good news. We now close for lunch and resume back at 2 o'clock 15 minutes, 2:15. Yeah, so we were earlier planning to get back at 2:05, but we thought maybe we need 10 minutes extra. So we see you all at 2:15. So enjoy your lunch and see you again.
Thank you very much.
Flow3D Cast is a powerful, versatile, accurate, and easy-to-use CFD software that gives you the power to accurately simulate a wide variety of casting applications. You can predict surface defect locations quickly. To schedule a one-on-one demonstration, call or email us to speak with one of our engineers.
With innovation in our DNA and progress as our legacy, we are the essential link connecting lives. A wheel driving people towards dreams. An engine empowering aspirations. We are Rockman Industries. The legendary Hero Group, which has been a household name for over 6 decades, is among the most trusted brands in the world. As a founding pillar of the Hero Group, Rockman Industries today is a leading auto components and assembly supplier and the largest manufacturer of two-wheeler alloy wheels in India. With a historic year-on-year growth and an ever-expanding geographical presence, our offerings have made us synonymous with link, motion, progress.
The journey has been very satisfying and exciting throughout 5 decades. When we started this company, there was a lot of import dependence. The company was formed to make India independent. I see this company to be a multi-locational, multi-product company now taking on the new materials and technologies which are going to be used in the future, like carbon composites or electrical cars or electronics, which will be used extensively.
Rockman delivers excellence in engineering products, services and solutions in the most innovative and cost-effective ways. With an eye on the future, our cost-effective advanced composites division is a one-stop seamless service. We take full ownership of our customers' needs with a single goal: to provide high-quality and cost-effective solutions to satisfy all needs. Our strength comes from our technology. We follow robust systems and processes aligned towards all-round operations excellence, leading to an overall improvement in equipment efficiency, minimizing breakdown and creating a safer work environment. Our zeal for frugal engineering and our innovative manufacturing processes ensure a customer-first approach to technology. Our true success comes from the combined brilliance of our workforce, our people. Their creativity and foresight catalyzes new ideas. By challenging the limits of today's technology, we develop products of the future. But our hunger of excellence craves for more.
At Rockman, we believe in giving back to the society, and we run a lot of initiatives where we are trying to work with the people for upliftment of the society there. Working in the rural areas, schools, and we also run skill development centers where we provide free training to the youth who can be employable.
To create solutions that educate, to instill values that empower, and to make a lasting impact on the lives of people. Simply to create better lives. Rockman Industries. Link, motion, progress.